Sasha Vance is pregnant, Caroline Levitt is pregnant, and somehow Stephen Miller's wife is also pregnant. You should be a good woman like them, like the fertilization president wants you to be.
I'll be known as the fertilization president, and that's okay. That's not bad.
I'm sorry. And he's also said this.
They called me daddy, right, last time? Very smart man said he's our daddy.
I think everyone's ovaries just shriveled up right there, didn't they?
I mean, literally, we live in a society where women can just procreate if they feel like it, and men cannot. So there's a fundamental power balance there.
Won't you selfish women start thinking of the incels who can't pass on their genes because they're socially awkward?
So I think what we're starting to see is actually like a mass extinction event. We are seeing natural selection for a group of men who have no options.
You're causing a mass extinction.
This like existential panic, angst, even aggression, entitlement. Because if these men do not behave in this way, they're literally going to die out.
Please, be so for real. Women are the problem because, they have standards. How dare they? And then they go on to talk about how you work on yourself and then you still don't even get a girl without realizing that, oh my goodness, relationships are built on mutual attraction and interest. Maybe view them as a person as opposed to a thing that you're owed. Shut up, just shut up, shut up. Why were these men ever given microphones? Seriously. By the way, Kat Black has done an amazing video reacting to this podcast, which I'll have linked for you down below. But do you feel it in the air, in the legislation perhaps? That push on your back, angling to steer you into the kitchen and put the apron on. That loud hum as birth control has been fear-mongered by right-wing influencers. Beneath a veneer of bare feet, sourdough, and happy children. You are a ticking clock after all. Never mind the fact that men's fertility also goes down, as does their sperm quality. No. We don't worry about them. This is about you and how you are the problem. Erica Kirk has warned you all about the pitfalls of trying to be the girl boss, and that's why she's a stay-at-home CEO now.
A huge mistake of putting career over family and career over husband, because it's easy to do when, as a female, when you see bright lights, big city, especially if you're a young woman, don't put it off. You can always have a career. You can always, go back to work. You can never just go back to having children.
Times are running out. TikTok.
Yes. There has been a really big shift in open judgment and harassment towards child-free women in particular. Tell me, why don't you want to have kids? Because I don't want to. If only it was that simple. I wish that I could end the video like that, because when you say no, the pile-on starts to happen. You will when you get older. You'll regret that decision.
They're so cute when they're little and then they grow up to be real little bleeders.
Don't be so selfish. Well, who's gonna look after you when you're old? But you'd be such a good mum.
He's a baby, not a bum.
You just don't know true love until you've had children. Well, what's your purpose in life then? But children are a blessing. You don't know what you're missing out on. Well, no man will want you if you don't want to have children. You'll change your mind once you have them. What if none of that is true though, and you end up as a regretful, resentful parent? Kids aren't something that you can return like a pair of ill-fitting jeans. Why is I don't want to not a good enough answer? It is if you don't want to order dessert. It is if you don't want to watch a TV show. And those things don't come with a life sentence and hundreds of thousands of dollars attached to them. It's almost like having children is one of those things in life where your needs and wants don't matter. Your consent doesn't matter because you come with the equipment, therefore it is your duty to provide. Aromantic? Doesn't matter. Asexual? You'll get over it. Oh, you're LG or B? Pfft, we don't have time for any of that nonsense. We only allow heteronormativity and procreation going forward. I have spoken about this issue years ago, but this has gone beyond Jordan Peterson.
Someone to be a mother for your children, assuming you want children, and if you don't want children, well, you probably will, and if you don't, you're either deluded or immature.
And I've really noticed in particular this pressure and judgment coming from women towards other women, and sweethearts, we need to have a chat. And we're being told by politicians that it's our job, our duty in fact, especially for white women, to procreate, because you are going to find a very nasty underbelly of racism here. And the thing is, even if you have had a child, you're not done yet, like Emily says here.
I just need child-free people to understand that people with children also get asked, when are you going to have a baby? But they ask it immediately after you've just had a baby. So basically, we're all in hell and the cycle never ends.
Whoa, calm down, Kylo. Feel better yet? But Bryony, don't you know that less white babies are being born? The great replacement theory is real. I have spoken about this briefly in this video here because it was reported that there are less white babies being born in the US, but it's also just happened here in Auckland in Aotearoa. For the first time, Asian babies are the largest ethnic group among newborns in the city. And the thing is that this piece from the spin-off is actually a really insightful read, written by a migrant themselves and addressing like the racism issues which are very rampant here. However, people saw the headline and were immediately like, see, white women, you're so selfish, you're terrible, you're bad women, you're letting us all down because they are replacing us. So we need to talk about the social phenomenon which I've been noticing, along with the policies which are meant to encourage women to be having children. You ever notice how all those happy family, wholesome suburbia pictures from the 50s or 60s are cartoons and not real photos? Or staged TV shows? I wonder why they had to make their propaganda out of fake things just like they have to today. You'll notice that they're literally using the exact same techniques today, but using AI instead, because why pay artists, am I right? This is what wealth looks like in 2026, with a cartoon of a woman holding a baby, 2 kids running up to the door as the father arrives home from work. As this comment says, oof, that image is doing a lot of propaganda heavy lifting. This isn't wealth, it's a vintage patriarchal fantasy from when one income could survive and women had no choice. I dedicated my life to science. I raised 5 scientists. I'm not saying women can't have careers, I'm saying staying at home with your kids isn't lazy. It's one of the most impactful paths a woman can choose. Let's make homemaking great again. A scientist's achievements don't matter if they're a woman because what they should be doing is raising 5 male scientists because that's far more important. It's really gross, underhanded stuff like this. I can't stand it. And then there's this classic. Imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women that this was oppressive. My patrons are the ones that voted for this video, so don't forget to thank them down below, and they already have the extended and uncensored version of this video.
Trying to pretend that she loves a kid as much as she loves surgery will almost kill her, and it'll almost kill your kid. Do you know what it's like to be raised by someone who didn't want you? I do. To know you stood in the way of your mother's career? I do. I was raised by a Christina. My mother was a Christina. And as the child she didn't want, I am telling you, don't do this to her.
But what if you're not sure? Shouldn't you just have a child to just see if it's right for you? I'm sorry, what have you been smoking to come up with that grand solution? Hot take, but not everybody should be parents. Jennifer Lawrence was recently on the Smartless Podcast with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. Jason Bateman is a dad, and Jennifer Lawrence is a mother of 2. And throughout the podcast, the topic of kids comes up quite a bit because obviously they have kids, so they're going to talk about it. And yes, I did listen to the whole thing. Now, Sean is child-free and says...
It's because I didn't have one, so that's another podcast. But yeah, because I didn't have one, so I think... I have a fantasy of being a dad because of the way I wasn't fathered.
Side note, please don't become a parent in order to heal your trauma. Please go to a therapist instead and don't put all of that pressure onto your child. Please and thank you. He then goes on to say,
I always said neither me or Scotty, my husband, is 100% wanting kids. And I was like, if he was 100%, it was like, oh my God, I want him so bad. Yeah. Then I'd be like, great, let's do it. But we're both like 85, so
no,
it's not fair to them.
Did you hear that? Jennifer says, you made the right call. Surprising? But then Jason cuts in saying,
no,
it's not fair to the kid. Yeah.
I do feel though that during the 9 months it takes to make a baby, it helps. That's a useful time for parents to kind of get their head around becoming parents. So take that for what it's worth.
You can so easily say that as a dad though, right? Dude, no. It should be a conscious choice that you're both aiming towards. It should be something that you both talked about, how you want to raise them, how many you want, or all of the other things that go into it, like how are you going to afford them? What kind of schools do you want them to go to? Like everything. There is so much to discuss about it before being like, well, it's happened now, guess we'll just see. I really don't get this cavalier attitude towards bringing life into this world and be like, you don't just accidentally stumble into applying for a job or a mortgage or something, and those don't carry life sentences with them. But Jennifer cuts him off saying,
for what it's worth, that was...
I don't know, whenever anybody tells me like, I'm not sure, I'm like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's so weird that people are like, oh, you don't have kids? And then when you have a kid, you're like, what the f?
Everyone suddenly turns confused at her, I imagine, but quickly saying,
right.
Well, everybody should have been like, when I said, it should have been 1 out of 1,000 people that goes, okay, I think I'm going to do it. And everybody's like, are you sure?
Right.
Like, that's the way it should be.
And that's a good question. Why is it that people are only questioned when they say that they don't want to have kids as opposed to they do want to have kids? It's not like you're unsure if you want to get the brownie or the creme brulee from a restaurant. It's like, oh, which one am I meant to choose? People are over that for ages, but you're not expected to, like, think through things before having children?
We should have a baby.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm serious. We'd have a really cute baby. Come on. I want a baby to be fun.
It's not like owning a foosball table, Steve. Do you have any idea how much work a baby is?
Yeah, I know. I can't do it.
People warn about getting tattoos because they last a lifetime and they're so painful. I thought that childbirth was painful and that lasts a lifetime as well. The entire child's life. Not to mention hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet we're meant to overlook any of these unsure feelings because, well, you don't know real love until you have a child. They give your life so much meaning. Oh, you'll figure it out. Dude, I don't know, like, have you seen couples break up over trying to put IKEA furniture together and you're expecting them to just be able to wing it when it comes to raising a child? What were people doing before in their life that made it so meaningless? Or is it that you only assign meaning to women when they are providing children to the world? It's worth sitting with why exactly you want to have children. The initial response from guys is usually about carrying on their bloodline, their name, their legacy. Like they may bring something up about their family business or something. That's never screwed any children up ever. Like this TikTok shares.
And then men will continue to work and go out and stay out late and go to happy hour and live their best life. Of course they want to be dads. Why wouldn't they? Whenever people ask me if I want to be a mom or if I want to have kids, and I'm like, honestly, I'm not really sure right now. They're like, in 10 years, you will. Like, one day, you're gonna want to. Okay, then ask me in 10 years then. Like, why are you asking me this now and then waiting for my answer 10 years from now? Because women have to think about that shit. We have to think about our bodies changing drastically and our lifestyles changing drastically, and men don't. That's why you ask any man on the road if they want to be a dad and they're going to say yes. Because honestly, the bar is so low for men being good dads that they really don't have to do anything just to make it.
But there's no consideration for the child in there. You know, like you're bringing an autonomous being into the world. Don't you want to support what they want to do? I don't think it's inherently selfish for the reason simply being, I love kids, I want to have them and help them grow and help them achieve their dreams in life. Like there is nothing selfish about that. I don't think that's bad at all. What I do side-eye is when people are like, well, who's going to look after me when I'm old? If you're having children in order to be able to be a service to you, you may want to question why you're viewing them as a resource. All people that have kids is a way to fulfill the sort of dreams that they had growing up, which they were never able to fulfill, and then they project all of that onto their kid. You know, like all of the stage mums, the sports dads, and everything in between. When it comes to childless versus child-free and everything in between, I came across this chart which I think is really helpful to help illustrate this. With want a child going down and have a child going across. Want a child? No. Have a child? No. Child-free. Woohoo! That's me. Want a child? No. Have a child? Yes. Regretful parent. Want a child? Unsure. Have a child? No. Undecided. Want a child? Unsure. Have a child? Ambivalent parent. Want a child? Yes. Have a child? No. Not yet a parent. Want a child? Yes. Have a child? Yes. Parent. Want a child? Yes, with regrets. Have a child? No. Childless. You know, you'd like one so you can't have them. See, the difference between child-free and childless? Easily explained here. Want a child? Yes, with regrets. Have a child? Yes. Reluctant parent. So now you understand the greater landscape rather than just childless or child-free. Like for me and my husband, we are child-free. At 3 months in, we were like, okay, this is it for us. And we talked about all of our life goals to make sure that there were no deal breakers to prevent any potential heartbreak. And he said he didn't want to have children, and the relief I felt was like a weight lifted off my shoulders because I don't want to have kids. I also can't have them for medical reasons. So it's like a double whammy for me. And because there's all of this stigma around women not being able to have children and then not being wanted by men, that really ate on my mind when I was growing up. And we've been together for nearly 13 years now. 0 regrets. And like I mentioned earlier, people often say, well, what if you regret it if you don't? What about the people who regret when they do? This is such a taboo topic that people do not feel comfortable talking about because just as it's sinful to not become a mother, it is more sinful almost to regret becoming a mother and even talking about it. It's like you're not meant to talk about it with anyone. There is a whole subreddit called Regretful Parents which will make you very sad if you read it. It's like there is only one path that you're allowed to choose in life and you're gonna be happy with it even if you have to fake it forever. It doesn't matter what you want so long as you are doing your duty. Plus we know that there's no women because women get shamed and judged for everything to do with parenting as well, so it's like, you can't win. And kids also know when they're not really wanted, like they pick up on a lot more than you know. To be a child to a reluctant, ambivalent, or regretful parent is not a fun thing, as I am sure that so many of you will tell me in the comment sections because you've told me that before. And it's better, actually, in my opinion, to realize that you don't want to bring life into the world rather than to inflict that and keep that cycle going. Also, for the people that really want to force people to give birth, why do you want to have all of these selfish people having kids? Like, you clearly don't think that they're good people anyway, so why do you want to put them in charge of a child for the rest of their life? They would be, in your eyes, bad parents, so why do you want that to happen? Isn't that just cruel to the children? The truth of the matter is that you don't care. For the parents themselves, this study, What Do Parents Regret About Having Children? Communicating Regrets Online, showed 2 fundamental categories of regret were identified. In the more common category of regret in certain circumstances associated with having children, parents emphasized that they did not regret their children but regretted one or more conditions of having children, including timing, number, sacrifice, partner, and the external world. The less common category of regretting having children stemmed from difficult children, self as bad parent, parenthood disdain, and child-free desire. These parents articulated if they could go back in time that they would not have children. You'll notice that first category is about circumstances, and a lot of that can actually be supported by having more involved partners, government support, better infrastructure, all of that good sort of stuff that we talk about, you know, like universal basic income, free daycare, things like free and accessible healthcare, all that sort of stuff, which we will get to in a later section. What's really frustrating is people choose to be child-free often for very pragmatic reasons because they've thought about it a lot. We recognize the life that we could give this human would not be a good one for a myriad of reasons, from health, financial, all sorts of things. Or quite simply that we don't have that sort of maternal gene that people talk about all the time. A lot of us have been the child who's been brought into the world because the parents thought this is what you're meant to do. This is how the relationship escalator works. We got married, we're living in a home now, and so the next step is obviously children, without thinking about whether you really want to have them or not. Now the relationship escalator is being questioned a lot more, which I'm very appreciative of. It's why I stress so often that people should only become parents if this is something that they truly want and can handle the responsibility of, if they will love and support their children no matter what their gender, their sexuality, or their hobbies or interests are. Will less kids be born? Probably, but my god will they be an awful lot happier. But what if that meant that you weren't born? Beat that. Okay, then I wouldn't have all of the massive therapy bills that I've had to pay. By the way, thanks for watching my ads so I can pay for my high medical bills. It's much appreciated. One of the circumstances that comes up the most when it comes to regretful parenting is not having a supportive spouse.
I used to be such a happy person. I have been so reluctant to record this video because I don't want her to grow up and see it and get things twisted, because she is, without a doubt, the best thing in my life and always will be. But I used to be a completely different person. I physically cannot tell you enough how careful you should be and how important it is. You will never, don't let people tell you marriage and all that is more important. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I am telling you, nothing will determine your happiness. Nothing will impact your life as severely as who you decide to have a child with.
Watching this made me so sad because he's the one that wanted kids, and yet he expected her to be doing all of the work. Like, you see this so much. I am so sick to death of seeing all of these videos of fathers not being engaged in raising their kids, not wanting to do the nighttime routine, being like, well, I work 8 hours a day. This is your job. And it's like, 8 hours a day versus 24 hours a day. Everyone is working. Parenting is raising a child. It's not just like pump and dump and then they're there and that's your whole job done. So long as you go to work, then you have no other responsibilities. No. For anyone that's unsure, this may sound weird, but do you have any people in your life who do have kids, whether it's friends or family? Please volunteer to babysit for them for an entire weekend to get a bit of a taste for what it actually entails and what it's actually like. One, that's great for the parents because, you know, this whole like it takes a village to raise kids. Well, there you go, this is part of your duty, right? The other thing I'm a really big fan of is for fathers in particular, sign up for one of those Big Brother programs. So you're spending a few hours every weekend going and helping this kid, being a dependable part of of their life, helping them go through the challenges and watch them grow and support them. Oh, you don't have time to make that bigger sacrifice? Well, it's only a few hours every week. What do you think a child is like? Well, they're not mine, so why should I care? So it comes down to ownership then. I'm being quite serious. If you think a child's problems are not worthy of your time, seriously question why it is that you want to be a parent. Because you're going to be surrounded by all of their kid problems for the next 18 years at a very bare minimum and beyond. Do you want to have kids because you have a desire to help them grow and flourish and realize their dreams? Or is it because you simply want to pass on your DNA? Even this video where this father fully left his wife while she was in labor to go home, shower and rest. This is actually the most dangerous point in someone's life, is giving birth. And by the way, she even in the caption said how upset she was, and it's been 2 years since that was filmed. I also came across this reel where this divorce lawyer is saying, how many kids should you have? However many kids you are prepared to look after by yourself. Not only because of divorce reasons, but also what happens if the other person becomes disabled or passes away? Tragedy happens all the time. Marriages don't always last. So many of us are kids of divorce, and I know from my experience it was incredibly hard to get any financial support or anything from them. In fact, they did really horrific things I can't even talk about. So yeah, just think real long and hard about who you're choosing to have a child with, and maybe check out that Regretful Parents subreddit. Proudly stating you can't stand children and making your child-free status your whole personality is the cringiest thing I've ever seen, and only shows your true colours as the strangest version of a pick-me that exists. Oof. And she's saying this while she's holding her baby as a prop in the video. You may have come across this video from Daniel Eck, as she was saying how people who don't have children are basically on vacation 24/7.
I don't think people without kids realize how much free time they actually have. Like, they are practically on vacation 24/7. And you don't realize that until you have kids and you have no free time ever. I don't get a lot of free time, which I completely understand. I signed up for. But it's just funny because, like, I have friends that don't have kids, and I just get a kick out of hearing them say, like, oh, I'm so tired or I'm so busy. And I really try not to be that friend that's like, oh, well, girl, imagine if this, imagine it. Like, I despise people like that, because at the end of the day, everyone has problems, everyone has issues, everyone has a to-do list, and they can get overwhelmed and be tired. But I'm just saying, if you're watching this and you don't have kids, embrace the free time. Because once you do have kids, there will be little to no free time.
Well, you don't know real tired until you've had children. Well, maybe they also made that conscious choice to not have children because life is already hard enough. We know that everyone is struggling under capitalism, right? We've got jobs and other commitments that take up our time, including caregiving, and our own health issues that we have to deal with too. Like, some days I legit cannot get out of bed at all because I am that sick. I put on a good show for all of you, but I struggle with chronic illness myself. But people who are choosing to be child-free probably will still be tired. They choose differently, but yeah, they can still be tired, they can still be exhausted. Like, I hate the incorrect image that child-free people are just rolling around in money they can jet off to Rome on a moment's notice and are living like this sort of high life where everything's fine, and they're always drinking for some reason. You know, you've got this rich drunk aunt.
Great to see you. Oh, I don't have a baby. Everybody drink.
Though actually, a lot more of us are actually just struggling to get by, and then we realize that we wouldn't be able to afford to have kids and give them the sort of life that they deserve. You're struggling enough to afford yourself. But there's a particular hate towards child-free women who are sharing that they are enjoying their child-free life. Because normally as women they're posting this and it's like, how dare you do that, because clearly you are judging me for having children. And it's like, no, they're just sharing that they themselves are really enjoying the fact that they made this choice. They're enjoying their life. Oh, I'm really glad I didn't get roped into having children, because that wouldn't have worked for me. They're just like, I'm happy, I'm living, and it's great. Oh, a woman that is untethered, that is thriving? Oh, patriarchy cannot have that. And this is where a lot of internalized misogyny comes in, and I see a lot of women shaming other women for being child-free and enjoying it, and of course, there's plenty of men who will come chirping in saying what a waste it is that they haven't had children, or that they are ugly and unwanted, that's why they haven't had children. It's so frustrating. Like Lily here, she shares her life and gets comments like, hey mum, what's a woman's purpose in life? Pity, you're now expired. She turned 33. See what I mean? We're only worthy if we are a baby-making machine. Stop contributing to our ethnic extinction and do your damn duty already, lady. I told you, racism is a key part of it. But there's actually a double whammy of lookism and ageism that comes into play here. I see child-free women sharing how much they love in their life, and if they perform beauty properly, or if they're naturally beautiful and younger looking, then they get absolutely celebrated in the comments by other women. Like, oh, you look so good for your age. Oh my goodness, I thought you were 27. How on earth are you 35 or 40 or whatever? Proves the secret to aging well is not having children, and all these sorts of comments. However, if you do not meet beauty standards well enough, then you get ripped to shreds, and people feel perfectly comfortable commenting on that. Now, this woman here is actually part of the Maha movement, and I really do not like her work. She is not qualified at all, and she has all sorts of disinformation. But there is so much misogyny and ageism and just nastiness in her comment section because she doesn't look younger than her age. And this is coming into a whole other topic, which I really want to talk about as well in a future video, about how looking your age is the worst thing, apparently, if you're a woman. On top of course, not procreating. My God, how dare you? How dare you exist in the world as yourself? My goodness. The thing is that none of these women are ever saying that they hate children or that they think that people that have had kids are terrible. They're just saying how much they are enjoying their life and they are thriving. Trust me, I see some people in child-free spaces saying really unhinged things, like critiquing people for crotch goblins and saying how much they hate kids and they don't want them anywhere near them. And I'm like, okay, children have a right to exist in the world. We're all part of community. We all need to cohabit, in a nice way, okay? Because we need to make sure that everyone's looked after. We could, of course, get onto the topic of child-free resorts and whatnot, but that is a whole separate topic that we could get into. But for women to not want to be mothers is seen as morally wrong because we are raised to be nurturers, right? Like, even when we're babies ourselves, we get given other babies to look after. I never had that connection. I didn't really want to have like a little baby and like pretend all that stuff. That was not me. I wanted to be dressing up Barbie dolls. I wanted to be drawing and painting. That was what I wanted to do. But the thing is that boys don't need to worry about learning any of these skills because that's what girls are for. Like, if a man is single and child-free, it's not even considered to be a concern because, what an eligible bachelor, that's totally fine. And this spinster, old maid label, which has been used to hurt women so much in the past, it's not having the same sting. So they're really having to up the ante and get involved in politics now to make it so that, well, we're gonna take those choices away. Can we for a second please recognize how scary and screwed up the world is?
Of course, I love my kids. I think they're like the best thing in the world. And the reason I regret having children is because I don't think this world deserves children. And I hate that I brought these human beings here to live this. I'm already here trying to make the best of it. And it's a show. The world doesn't deserve them. I mean, I get it. People want to have their families and they want to have kids and whatever. But it's just like so selfish. Like, when I talk to people who actually want kids, it's always for selfish reasons. It's always, oh, well, I want a legacy, or I want a mini-me, or like, do y'all not understand or comprehend that these are actual human beings that have needs and that are going to be their own person?
Because this is another big reason that people are not having children. Nigel Farage, leader of the increasingly popular Reform UK party, is against abortion. And he wants people to be having more babies, but he's also very anti-immigrant, so what kind of babies do you think he wants more of? A patron shared that a petition made it all the way to Parliament in Poland, but suggested people with one child or who are child-free should pay higher taxes. The petition had enough signatures for the Parliament to discuss it, but thankfully they rejected this idea. And a rumour was started that Ukrainian women were having more children than Polish women, not only a way to fan the flames of the refugees are taking over, but also as a way to shame Polish women for not having more babies. It's like 2 for 1. You'll always see from these narratives that local white women in particular are letting the country down by not having more of their kind. The whole great replacement theory, whilst it did start off as a niche thing, has really spread and propagated all over the world. This is a woman's role in fascism to provide more children, in particular white children. And who else is a big part of the problem but the Heritage Foundation? You know, the people that were largely behind Project 2025? How's that doing on the Project 2025 tracker? I think it's nearly 50% now. It's only been a year of the Trump presidency. They provided this 137-page report to Trump last week. Saving America by Saving the Family, a foundation for the next 250 years. You haven't sorted out your 5-year plan? These people are thinking 250 years into the future. I don't know what I'm gonna be having for dinner. Their plan also includes a marriage boot camp, as was first reported by the Washington Post. For the country's population to replace itself and flourish across generations, a great many citizens must choose to marry, and, as a matter of mathematics, couples must on average have at least 2 children. Pronatalism in politics. Blessed be. As a reminder, J.D. Vance, Vice President, is a big fan of the Heritage Foundation. He's called the organization the most influential engine of ideas for Republicans from Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump. And J.D. Vance has also said this.
The Democrats are talking about giving the vote to 16-year-olds, but let's do this instead. Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children.
And also defended it when people were saying that the voting age should be lowered to 16.
It's not a policy proposal. It's a thought experiment, right? Democrats said we should give children the right to vote. Some Democrats had said we're going to give children the right to vote. And I said, well, if we're going to give the rights to the children, then we should actually just allow the parents to cast those votes, right? I trust a parent more with a decision like that than I do, say, a 14-year-old.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're working part-time and you're expected to pay tax on that, your tax dollars should be working for you, right? So yeah, I think that the voting age should be lowered to 16. If you're allowed to work, then that's cool. And Republicans want kids to be working, including in dangerous jobs, as they want to remove legal protections. This is all laid out in Project 2025, and this is why I'm saying it's important for the world to be aware about this stuff which is happening, because sadly, the ideas that America comes up with sort of spreads around the place in very uncomfortable ways, including here in Aotearoa. Second wave feminism and the sexual revolution promoted an individualistic, child-free, marriage-free, sexual liberation that promised to lead an unparalleled era of consent-based human happiness and fulfillment. Consent-based happiness? So you mean that they can choose if they want to get married or have children or what kind of life they want to lead? The horrors! They want to enact a marriage boot camp which is aimed at cohabiting couples. Successful completion of the program would mean that couples are ready to walk down the aisle at a communal wedding by the end of the boot camp. A communal wedding, what everybody's dreamed of. A monetary incentive for couples to get and stay married. For example, each couple that completes the program could receive a wedding bonus of up to $5,000 on their wedding day to be paid through foundations or private donors, not government funds. And they're basing this off existing programs which they themselves even admit are not very successful. And the government has already poured so much money into these programs and they haven't worked. Maybe it's because they shouldn't be staying together. But the thing is that the Heritage Foundation is staunchly against single mothers in particular. The hatred towards single women and single mothers has been explored in this book by Rebecca Traister, All the Single Ladies. It's about enforcing that relationship escalator that we talked about earlier, whether people want to be in it or not. Like, we had Blink-182 singing about this, over 20 years ago at this point? Stay together for the kids. It didn't work then, it's not gonna work now. And yeah, Heritage Foundation, my references are outdated as well, because guess what show they're referencing is a good example of what the American family should be? The Brady Bunch. Not even kidding you, this is in the report that was handed to the President of the United States. They're using the show as their argument to say that people are expecting too much these days. In the Brady Bunch, all the 3 boys shared a bedroom, as did the 3 girls, and all 6 children shared a bathroom together. Who was it that was cleaning that horror of a bathroom? And notice how they had to choose a fictional show to be like their standard of what the great thing is, because people weren't living great lives back then. Who wasn't happy? The women? Oh, but the women don't matter. They then go on to say how religious communities have this sorted out properly, like Catholics and Mormons. Because they're having larger families, everyone else should be doing the same. They also want single people to be paying far more in taxes and for tax breaks to be given to families, but specifically families with more babies and families with 2 parents. See how the discrimination is all sneakily woven in? The document calls for a new tax break to incentivize larger families, pitching a credit worth more than $4,000 for married joint filers with children and widowed parents as long as they meet work requirements. The credit would increase by 25% for a large family bonus for parents with at least 3 children. The credit would grow by another $2,000 for each eligible child younger than 5 years old to encourage a parent to stay home and provide childcare. Yes, because they also want homeschooling to happen because they think that the Department of Education needs to be completely obliterated. Yes, like I said, they're behind Project 2025. And who's doing the homeschooling? The women, but we don't care if they want to do that or not. It's their duty. They also want a savings account to be made for the children to be redeemed only when they marry or turn 30, whichever comes first. And this would add roughly $280 billion to US debt. I'd rather do all of this instead of addressing the social issues which have come about from capitalism, stagnating wages, insecure housing, etc. And the thing is that they get so very close to addressing the problem, but then they have to veer super far away from it in order to be able to meet their agenda. Their solutions keep coming back to stripping away bodily autonomy, punishing the poor, penalise single parents, put in place strict worker requirements, and attack divorce, because yes, they are also strongly against divorce. They mention the word divorce 81 times in this report. They particularly harken back to the 1950s when people were getting married at the youngest age in the post-war boom. But what else was happening in the 1950s? The government was pouring heaps of money into infrastructure, into creating jobs, into developing suburbs, into doing all sorts of stuff. And that was a time when union membership was at its highest, so people were earning really good wages and getting great support from the government. It was kind of as close to socialism as the US has ever gotten, and people were thriving in that time, yet their solutions are to just use this as their facade, their mask for what they expect women to conform to, meanwhile not providing any of the stuff that made that possible. But they weren't even happy back then. I just get so worried when they're using charts like this and being like, the 18 to 25 crowd aren't getting married in the numbers that they used to. Yeah, I don't know about you, but the person I was with when I was like 18, 19 or something, I would be adding to your divorce stats. The default in American culture today is to put the desires of adults over the needs of the children. Oh, you mean like guns not having heavier restrictions against them in order to be able to prevent school shootings? Children are too often called to sacrifice what is due to them, the presence of their mum and dad under the same roof for the entirety of their childhood. Oh, so you mean like ICE and how they're snatching up parents everywhere and splitting them apart from their kids, and children having to go home to empty homes because you've taken their families? Even to the point of using this poor 5-year-old boy as bait to be able to draw out his father, but they both went off to the detention camp together, so maybe the Heritage Foundation is fine with that. And like I said, they mostly care about getting more white women procreating, honestly. Like, it's all very subtle throughout this, but it's all about white people. Like, they want more children to be born for sure, and it would be useful to have more poor kids born because then they can go into the armed forces or go into the military industrial complex and find ways to be able to extract labor from them in those, but they particularly want to make sure that the white race continues. Yes, white nationalism, very much there. I fully get behind things like UBI, universal basic income, like free and accessible healthcare, like making sure that parents have got adequate support, paid parental leave, anti-discrimination laws being in place, all that sort of stuff which can absolutely make a big difference in parents' lives, including a concerted effort to address the maternal mortality rate, which includes abortion as healthcare, because otherwise you get scenarios like Adriana Smith, who was only 9 weeks pregnant, kept artificially alive as an incubator, was born in June of 2025, and as of December 2025 is still in the NICU fighting for his life. By the way, they also want to stop IVF entirely. But the thing is, all of those solutions are only part of the problem. Look, if the society that you're in is sexist, if women are seen as lesser than, if they are discriminated against, if men in hetero relationships aren't expected to do equal work in the house and child rearing, and women and children are still being abused by them, there's much bigger problems that really need to be addressed. Because South Korea has actually implemented a whole bunch of things to try and entice women to have babies. But they are a very sexist country. They have one of the world's lowest fertility rates. It was at 0.72 in 2023 and it went up to 0.75 in 2025. It's been beaten out by Taiwan, as reported in Newsweek. South Korea has one of the highest gender pay gaps in the world and openly discriminates against women. Like, there are many reasons that the 4B movement happened there to begin with. There are some companies who are offering bonuses to employees if they have children. But if all you're doing is offering some flashy goodie bags whilst the real issue hasn't been dealt with, then you're not going to get much uptick. Their former president, Yoon Suk-yeol, ran on an anti-feminist campaign in 2022. Who was fundamental in getting him impeached? Women were. Lee Jae-myung won the election in June 2025, but not a single candidate put forward a meaningful policy to address structural gender discrimination in the workplace, domestic violence, or public harassment, all of which are systemic issues which need to have focus put on them to be addressed. And when he was questioned about this, he said, "Why do you keep dividing men and women? They are all Koreans." Which is another way of saying I don't care. It's like when white people say, I don't see colour. It just means that you don't care about the lived experiences of others. There are big issues in South Korea like stagnating wages, like a lack of job opportunities, and basically a whole bunch of young, highly educated people who aren't able to get the same opportunities as what people before them had. Along with the concentration of everything being based in Seoul, feminism has become the scapegoat there. As Kyung-ya Young observed in a paper from 2024, misogyny becomes an outlet for their, South Korean men's, frustration and masculinity crisis as they search for a scapegoat for their struggles in neoliberal society. They blame women rather than the neoliberal economy. They don't have as many immigrants as other countries do, so women have become the scapegoat for all of their woes. You can't question capitalism, you gotta lick the boot, even when you're standing on the shoulders of women to get there. So many young people today don't feel like they're gonna be able to get married, have children, or buy a home even. So it's completely understandable that they're feeling frustrated. But forcing them to have children that they cannot afford or do not want does not solve the problem. Even in more equitable countries, like the Nordic countries, Iceland for example, countries that do have good parental leave and parental support and like family services and stuff, they've also got low fertility rates. People are having kids later or not at all. People have got the freedom to choose, and they're often choosing not to have kids. Why are we still trying to force something that clearly not everybody wants to do?
Actress Hailee Steinfeld humanizes her unborn child by highlighting her baby bump on the red carpet, defying Hollywood's anti-kid agenda. Babies aren't burdens, they're blessings. Why does this make it sound like Hailee Steinfeld is the first ever pregnant woman to walk a red carpet? Like, hello? This was at the same event, but of course she chose to highlight Hailee Steinfeld. Not surprised.
If our replacement rates aren't being kept up with, then why aren't we just recognizing that this is a global pattern and finding ways to be able to solve for the future with the fact that we're going to have a larger older population and a smaller younger population? We've got so many technological advances, we could be focusing on degrowth strategies, on ways to make sure that people are going to be looked after as they age, and so that we've got systems in place to help kids and like everybody flourish. We could do that. But degrowth does not work well for capitalism, nor does it provide cannon fodder. Women are not playing their role by being a silent cog and pushing out more future taxpayers, so they're the ones that need to be controlled now. We are in the first few generations who've been able to choose what we want to do with our lives because feminists fought hard for our rights. The women who came before us weren't able to because birth control wasn't there, no-fault divorce wasn't there for a lot of people. And when you think about it, Gen X also had this standard of, well, the thing that you're meant to do is to have children. And lots of them did because it's what you're meant to do, whether they wanted to or not. But over the years, there have been fractures of people with uteruses deciding that, no, I actually don't want to choose that life. And then we're really seeing what happens when someone can choose whether they want to be a parent or not. Lots of people are actually deciding to opt out of it. The curtain has been peeled back on what motherhood truly is. Mothers have been sharing on social media their real lives, the reality of struggling without support. And my God, the amount of people who say, stop complaining, just leave him, you chose this life. That could be a whole video unto itself because that sort of rhetoric really is not helping. It is completely okay for people to be struggling and to share those struggles. By silencing them, you are trapping them in bad situations. Yeah, that really is a future video topic. Going back to this chart, I personally believe the only people that should really be having kids are the ones that fit into this green box. Obviously also supporting people that want to have children but can't for fertility issues or whatever other issues. I believe that those people should be supported too. But I don't believe you're going to have healthy, happy societies if you're forcing people who don't want to have children to have them, because you get reluctant, ambivalent, or resentful parents from it. And that's not a good experience for anybody, including the children. We're living in a time now where there are women who are retired, who are still thriving in their life. We've got older women who are child-free, who are sharing their lives with us and providing a positive outlook. If it's like, well, what's going to happen to you when you're older? Well, I can show you this.
I don't want to be a burden to my relatives, so I have already started making plans. I have taken care of several things. I have a healthcare directive, a will, and a trust. I've made a chart. It has belongings on it, and I've designated who should get what belongings. It's going to sound weird. I have even gone so far as in our family plot to have my headstone made.
Pamela has been really practical. She's thought about her end of life. She's already bought her headstone. She's already paid all of the things. She's being so much more practical than people who have kids are. But what does she do with her time? Well, she has hobbies. She's got friends. She's got a dog. She has a full life. Like, she is thriving and happy. And there are other examples exactly like her. People who are child-free and are happy that they made that choice. And that is a good thing. Nothing makes conservatives more angry than people who are not following their rules who are happy. The world is a scary enough place with rising fascism and the climate crisis, which keeps on getting spat at by all of these selfish billionaires, but then you're calling others selfish who are like, oh, I don't know if I really want to inflict all of this horror onto my child, you know, like, you're calling them selfish. The problem is up there, bro, okay? I really just implore people to focus on building community, looking out for each other, joining unions, like making sure that you're strengthening those connections. I'm obviously not from the US, but there is this video from Lee Jamila, which I'll also have linked for you down below on tackling ICE. And for anybody in Minnesota, one of my patrons highlighted this website, thepeopleswatch.org, which I will have linked for you down below, so that everything can be documented about all the atrocities which are happening to make sure that the truth isn't ever forgotten. And they wanted me to say, Mr. Walls, your students still stand with you. There are so many better things to spend your energy on than yelling at women who are child-free. People are not mere objects of a uterus. And what are you saying about them if they can't have children? Are you calling them defective as if they're like this product, as if they are an object? You need to work on your humanity, bro. If you made it all the way to the end of this very long video, which took way longer than I thought it would, please leave the baby bottle emoji along with the money that's flying away emoji, because let me tell you what, a lot of us are struggling financially, and some people are really acting like babies, so maybe they just need a bottle to calm down. Massive thank you to all of my patrons who are the ones that voted for this video and also helped provide input for it, and especially to my top tier Trash Panda enablers. Alyssa, Anna, Anna Marie, Vectorfly, Birgit, Caroline and Violet, Carrie, Danielle, Dr. Worm, Dr. Bun, Elise, Emberly McCulley, Hamster Posey, Jamisa Brown, Jess, Katie Fukuhara, Christine Ryan, Laura Bell, Mark Tremonti as God, Mary Sweet, Megan Connolly, Natalie R, Nathan, Nicole H, Pink is Life, Queen Winters B, Ryder, Sentient Cactus, Sheriff Truman, Spooky Jade, Tammy Poitras, Tasha McKinney, Tonya Beignet, Varu Catmama, and Zophema. Oof, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I am gonna go enjoy some sunshine because it's finally sunny now after all of that torrential rain that we dealt with. Side note, but I dread to think what they're gonna do with Eloise's character in Bridgerton, because she is definitively not here for children.
You'll come and see the baby Eloise.
Why has it changed since I saw him last?
No, I haven't read the books. I've heard they're not all that great. I'm reading far more important things right now, and Bridgerton is my escapism, so I want to see some nice representation, please. I know the new season 4, is going to come out really soon. And I'll see you lovelies next time. Bye!